Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Ocean Talks. I'm bringing you something a little bit different this week. As you can see, I'm not in my studio. I'm actually out in the field trying to film some sharks today, but I have a special guest with me. He's a person you've seen before on this channel, and he's a very, very close consultant to pretty much everything I do on the channel. Phil Stearns is with me. He is now Dr. Phil Stearns. Just finished his PhD. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing well, thank you. Of course, always happy to talk with you about sharks, film sharks, so it's living the dream. But yes, thank you.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it doesn't get better than this,
No,
right? Just
no.
being on a bluff looking for sharks.
Exactly, no, that's, I don't know how many other people get to say they do that for their job and for fun and all that. It's just, or research. I mean, how many people get to say that? So I'm happy to be out here.
We're pretty lucky, and you know, we have such a really supportive community on this channel.
Yep.
All of you guys really, I can't thank you guys enough for supporting what we do. We've got some really cool updates for you today regarding the newborn baby shark that made worldwide news earlier this year. That newborn baby shark footage was definitely a clickbait kind of thing for a lot of media outlets. So we have a major update to tell you about the newborn baby shark, and I'm going to let Phil discuss that with you now.
Yeah, so it's fascinating. Researchers from the Okinawa Aquarium in Japan, well, what they discovered, what they observed, is they were actually at a fishing village in Japan. They found a deceased pregnant salmon shark. So salmon sharks are very closely related to white sharks. They look very similar because they're sister species. They're in the same family called Lamnidae. And what they did is they took this deceased pregnant shark, or salmon shark, back to the lab. And once they actually went into it and they found the deceased embryos inside of it, they were late-term embryos, so very close to being born, and what they realized is that there's actually a white layer on these embryos that looks very similar to the white layer that we saw on our white shark. So what they discovered, or what they noted, is that it's actually not the milky substance that we originally hypothesized, but instead it's something called embryonic epithelium for the skin of the shark, or the dermal denticles, to grow and develop in, and then it will be shed shortly after the shark is born. Could it be months, could it be weeks, could it be days, hours? They're not entirely sure, but they're very certain that this layer that they saw in the salmon shark is probably the same layer that we saw in our white shark, and that it only reinforces our interpretation that it was a newborn white shark that we saw.
I've got the abstract pulled up here on the laptop, and when you first read this paper, it basically seems like it's very critical of our conclusion, right? But the very, very interesting thing about it is the final conclusion, for lack of better terms, is that the reinterpretation does not alter, but instead reinforces the major conclusion of Gauna and Stearns that the individual cited is a newborn.
Yeah.
That's a big sentence, because this is your specialty. What's the importance of having a salmon shark with the same white film that ours was documented to have?
Yeah, so exactly. This is, as you just said, why is it so significant? It's a sister species, so it's very closely related to the white shark. So while it's not a white shark that we saw it in, it's something very closely related. They almost look identical in some ways. You know, some of the morphology, the overall body shape is very similar. So since it's so closely related as a sister species, the fact that one species is doing that, and the fact that we see something very similar in a living white shark, probably you can put two and two together that, okay, they're all doing it. Some phylogenetic relationship or some common ancestor did this, and that all the subsequent species that came along in the tree do this. So there's an evolutionary history to this, and they share the same trait of having an embryonic epithelium. Hopefully that makes
Now,
sense.
have we found any evidence of an actual skin condition in a great white shark yet?
The one that we described, no. There still remains no follow-up study, no alternative evidence to say that there is a skin condition that matches what we saw in our white shark. So what's interesting is when it comes to the skin condition hypothesis versus the newborn white shark hypothesis, we now have follow-up evidence to support the newborn white shark hypothesis because of this very paper. So score 1 for newborn white shark, 0 for the skin condition.
Okay. Now, we did get a little bit of criticism from some scientists. I would say a majority of the marine biologists that I talked to believe that it's more than likely a newborn shark rather than a skin condition. But there was a few that didn't necessarily agree that it was a newborn shark. The one criticism was always about the size, right? And I fielded a few questions about the size, and nowhere in our paper are we saying that this is the smallest white shark ever recorded. If you know anything about sharks, which, you know, and especially in that age range, it's kind of limited what we know, right? That shark we've estimated is right in that range of what a newborn would be.
Yep.
So that is fact number one. Fact number two is a lot of people forget that we brought in an actual PhD math expert and coordinated with the drone manufacturer, and we came up with the equation for the estimated size. Now, the media took the high end of that estimation and used that at 5 feet. That doesn't mean it was 5 feet. It could have very well been smaller than 5 feet, but we just worked in a range for the size of that shark. So I'm pulling up the images from the researchers in Okinawa, and this is pretty striking. You see that white film that they're pulling off that shark.
It's amazing.
That looks almost identical to what we filmed, right?
It's literally, it's almost a one-for-one match. The fact that they can almost peel the layer right off, you can see the normal skin pigmentation underneath it, exactly what we saw with our white shark. It said this weird white, milkish membrane that we saw, but as the shark was swimming, it was coming off, and you can see the normal pigmentation underneath, almost the exact same thing in a sister species. So it's incredible.
I mean, you can see they're peeling this thing off. This is pretty incredible. They did find that shark up on Rhode Island this summer, right? That looks strikingly familiar to ours and was in that same size range.
Yes, yeah. So my phone was blowing up from people I know that are sending me these messages like, hey, look, this looks just like your white shark. I'm like, what? And then I pulled up in the video. So yes, off the coast of Rhode Island, in the Atlantic Ocean, not in the Pacific, there's this video of a shark that has like this white milky layer on it, and the researchers that looked at it, the respected scientist John Dodd, had said, yeah, there's a white milky substance on it, and it's probably a newborn white shark. He said that, so I find it very interesting that on the other side of North America, we have a very similar looking white shark that might very well be another newborn, just in a different region, so it's incredible.
What's cool is I get emails all the time from people out there, and the fisherman that actually caught that really small, similar looking shark up in Rhode Island, he actually sent a comment in my videos, but I can't find the comment. So if you caught that shark and you're watching this, send me an email so that I can respond to you and look at your footage, and I would love to connect with you out there, because if you caught a shark that looks just like ours, that's a pretty big deal, because I've been searching for another one ever since. Phil is out here obviously searching with me as well. But if you're out there, let me know, because I really want to talk to you. So that's the update on the newborn white shark. It's pretty interesting. I'm going to link to that study down in the description below. I'm also going to link to some of the pictures that are available so you can look at those. I think you're going to be amazed. It's strikingly familiar to our shark, and because it's such a close cousin of the white shark, it really, really gives a point to that newborn category instead of a skin condition. Okay, so there's a lot of other stuff going on in the shark world, and Phil and I, we often just sit out here and talk about everything from shark movies to shark news and shark studies. So we're just going to do that. We're going to talk about what we normally do on our long drives to search for sharks. What do you got, Phil? Any topics that are top of mind?
Well, one of them that has been is the use of shark barriers at beaches where swimmers are around, and how much safety there is and so forth. So yeah, shark barriers are really interesting right now.
Shark barriers, for sure. That's a topic that I brought up on quite a few of my videos regarding Australia and California, the differences between how there's so many shark encounters in California and so many shark encounters in Australia. It just seems that there's more actual attacks in Australia. Is that really the case? Do you think the shark barriers have something to do with that?
Well, I mean, is it the shark barriers are keeping sharks out in our part of our neck of the woods? Maybe. You know, is it a difference in behavior between these two different white shark populations? Because yes, the white sharks are distributed globally, but some populations act differently compared to others. So there's different factors you have to take into account. But is it that the barriers are keeping sharks away and protecting swimmers? Possibly. Or is it just that these individual populations are different from one another? Just different things to consider.
Yeah, you know, I had a discussion with Mike Coots, the photographer from Hawaii recently, and we talked about the barriers. And I brought up the topic about are barriers in Australia, it's notorious to use these barriers in Australia. If you're seeing a lot of juvenile sharks near humans, like we see here in California, we don't use barriers. But the whole concept of if a shark is around a human when it's young, it learns that it's a human and it's not its food.
Right.
if you block off a beach, when those sharks get older and they see a human for the first time, are they more than likely to attack the human or take a nibble? You know, I use the example of Yosemite, you know, where you see deer.
Yeah.
And deer will walk right next to you at Yosemite National because they're not hunted. They know what a human is, and humans are not a threat there.
Right.
What do you think? It's an interesting concept, right?
Yes, it really is. I mean, I do wonder, you know, is it just there's a natural predatory instinct from the sharks from birth to go after a certain prey size and shape? Maybe, but again, what we see out here, you and I both know, we have a lot of white sharks swimming around, and our attack or incident rate is very low compared to other parts of the world. And we have no barriers. But then other parts of the world, as you just said, have barriers, and their incident rate does seem to be up. So maybe, as you said, at a young age, these white sharks can identify the difference in what objects are in the water, what is prey and what isn't prey, and as they get older, they won't make that mistake of attacking humans in this case.
Yeah, and the other element of a barrier, you know, regardless of what kind of barrier it is, I tend to think that you're kind of altering the ecosystem in a way, right? So I was recently in Cape Cod, for example, and on a particular day in Cape Cod, there was 10 to 12 sharks seen in one particular part of the area there, and there was, I guess, some barrier testing going on, and then the next day there was no sharks. But what happens to those sharks if they get displaced? Do they go somewhere else? So I just hope that, you know, barriers are going to be, and this is just my opinion, I'm not saying this is a fact, it's an opinion, but we have to think about the ramifications of the ecosystem if you cut an apex predator from an area where it likes to go feed. Yeah. Is it going to get displaced to somewhere else? And, you know, having spoken to Alison Towner down in South Africa, yes, for example, where the sharks are getting displaced, yep, to other areas of Africa. We had a fatality in South Africa recently, and it's believed that it's part of that displaced population. So, no, what do you think? Is there something to that?
I mean, I would definitely say there's evidence pointing to that. I look forward to any more in-depth quantitative studies to really give us an accurate picture of what's going on. But I do think you block off an area that is, you know, a site fidelity where sharks are known to aggregate, and you take that access point away from them, well, they're going to go somewhere else, and then they're going to be in a region that could have more swimmers, or there's not going to be as much prey where they're used to having prey. So you alter the wildlife's going to respond. In what way? We don't know. In a positive or negative way, we don't know. I mean, I think sharks are very adaptable and they're flexible, but when you take away a known region that could have a lot of prey to them, that could have implications for the species. So I look for future work and love to see the results, but it's a very hot topic. I'm really interested in it.
I'm totally interested in following the barriers and the deterrent systems that are out there for sharks because, as you know, if you watch this channel, I'm a proponent of non-invasive techniques and methods. And I just think that if you start cutting an apex predator from an ecosystem, from an area, it's going to displace to somewhere else and could actually, it may have the opposite effect. Now, it's just an opinion, but it's just food for thought.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so what else is going on?
So, yeah, think about this.
Any good shark movies you've seen lately?
Shark movies, oh man. Everyone's been telling me to watch Under Paris. The one on Netflix where there's sharks swimming underneath the city or something like that.
Paris.
Yeah. Oh, you did see it. I've not seen it yet, no. So it's on my list of I want to turn my brain off, you know, or put something on in the background to watch. So nothing groundbreaking shark movie wise. I mean, I still get people asking me about the Meg and so forth, and like, what do you think of the Meg? I'm like, oh, it's Hollywood's fascination of giant shark movie and so forth.
I saw the Meg, yep. And you know what? I actually liked it because it's just a popcorn movie. Yep. I did enjoy it. Yep. You got to throw all science out the window. Yes. You got to throw all of that and just enjoy it. You know what movie I recently just saw again that I thought, man, that's actually a pretty cool movie, was Deep Blue Sea.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a pretty cool movie.
Yeah, Deep Blue Sea, that's part of this late 90s era in filmmaking where you had Anaconda come out, you had Lake Placid and Deep Blue Sea, where all like the big scary animal movies were making a comeback in Hollywood. So you had 1999, you had Deep Blue Sea coming out where they take mako sharks in the movie, and because they're doing research for Alzheimer's disease, they're trying to actually understand, well, how can we improve human brain function? So they tested on mako sharks, and the mako sharks actually turned against them. So that's fun. LL Cool J cracks me up in there. The bird, it's a fun movie to watch. So again, turn your brain off, but I enjoy it. And mako sharks are my favorite sharks. So I'm like, okay, it's finally a movie with mako sharks, so I'm all for it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my all-time favorite is Jaws, of course.
Yes.
And when I was up in Cape Cod a couple weeks ago, I was going to go film all the spots where Jaws was filmed, but I had a little issue with luggage and stuff, and I couldn't get out there. I missed the ferry. But anyways, those are our favorite movies. Those are mine. I wish they made some more authentic shark movies, but I guess we have to wait for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat Jaws. Of course, Jaws is what got me into sharks, so that's the end-all, be-all for me. But to follow in their footsteps, or his footsteps, very difficult to do. I wish we can get an authentic one. I mean, there's been some attempts. I know the director of The Meg said he wanted to make the best shark movie since Jaws, so I applaud his effort. And again, I enjoyed The Meg for what it is, but yeah, it's very hard to make a good shark movie since Jaws because it just does everything so well.
Right, right. Okay, so what was that? I saw something in the news this week about they saw a great white shark washed up on shore, up like in Alaska or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, off of British Columbia. Yeah.
British Columbia. Holy cow, that's really far north. In case you don't know where that is, that's further north than Seattle. Like we're talking about a great white shark washing up on the beach, way up there. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be great because I want to go back and double check some of the records myself. We do have accounts of sharks being caught or seen up there, but not very frequently. So the fact that one washed up there, really interesting, especially at this time of the year. So I'm wondering, ocean temperatures are getting warmer. The sharks are preferring those ocean temperatures. They're staying way further north. I mean, it's incredible that there's a shark all the way up there. So I'll be curious to know. They'll try to determine what caused the shark to die. But the fact that there's a white shark this far north at this time of the year, really interesting saying. I think there's something going on with ocean temperature once again, or prey availability, but there's plenty of prey along the California coastline and so forth. But yeah, I think temperature might be at play once again.
I'm going to link to that article if I can find it in the video description, because to see a great white shark that far north really, really interests me. I can tell you that through my observations, I have noticed a lot more sharks headed further north along the California coast. And even into January, I'm seeing a lot of the sharks that you would normally think go south to Baja or go to warmer waters are hanging around here still. The ocean has to be getting warmer, right? I mean, that's what the data shows.
Yeah, the data shows it. I mean, I've luckily my PhD research has actually looked at how sharks respond to rising ocean temperatures, and what we actually find out is sharks like it once the water's getting warmer. Great. But the thing is we've never seen the ocean, or at least there's nothing we can compare to, that the ocean's warming at such a rate as it is right now. So again, for us, we're like, okay, the difference between 70 and 71 degrees, no big deal. But to a shark, a half a degree difference might be all the difference in the world that they'll acclimate to. So if that's happening, that's why we're going to see sharks in different areas we wouldn't expect them to see.
It's pretty wild stuff. And just so you know, Phil consults with me on a lot of the footage that I capture. I talk to him often. He is an expert in this field. He's a shark expert. Just got your PhD. And so a lot of the times what I try to do in this channel is present an idea, present questions to you to just think about. I don't want to give you just the answers to everything, because I don't consider myself an expert per se of these species, but I do spend 20 to 30 hours a week actually filming and watching sharks. So I do know a bit about their behaviors, and a lot of that stuff still surprises me. Every single week I see something really interesting about sharks. Now, we're working on a new paper. Can we talk about that a little bit, about the dorsal fin behavior?
Yes, yeah, so it's a fascinating thing. Dorsal fin behavior, I'm super interested in because I'm curious why sharks look the way they do, and you'll actually see, for just sharks in general, the big difference between sharks is the dorsal fin will be more towards the head for most species, or in the other half of species, it'll be more towards the tail. So some we think it's used for an additional like swimming propulsion to help them swim along. The other, it's used as a stabilizer. So in the white shark, we think the dorsal fin's a stabilizer, help it stabilize itself in the water. But what's interesting is you've observed that they've actually used this dorsal fin to slap at inanimate objects in the water, which blew my mind. I was like, what? No. So yeah, I thought that was super exciting. And again, nowhere I've seen this in the published record. So that's the goal right now, to present that to the public once again.
Yeah, we're just capturing more data to present when it comes to shark dorsal fins. But the ramifications of that, if it becomes something that we can, come to some sort of conclusion, is that, what does that mean for like tagging methods? Drilling into the dorsal fin of sharks and doing some of the evasive things that we do to sharks if they use that dorsal fin for something else rather than stability.
Yeah, exactly. So you hit the nail on the head. We think it's just a stiff, appendage used for stability, but now if they use it for investigation and some things, it's going to be interesting because how much reduced flexibility do you have now because of the tags that go in there? So is a tag going to affect the dorsal fin in that way? So that's another thing we need to consider if this is a new behavior that we didn't know about until now. And the rest of the scientific community can take a look at that and be like, all right, maybe a dorsal fin tag may not be the best method. Another method might be more suitable if there is. So yeah, things to consider. There's ramifications for everything, especially seeing a new dorsal fin behavior.
Well, I've been filming breaches lately.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that? Because what I've been doing is I've noticed that it's not these adults breaching out here. It's a lot of these juveniles, these younger sharks. What do you think?
There's a big review paper that just came out about breaching behavior in sharks. It was a huge one led by Dr. Pete Klimley, who was the one that hypothesized that newborn white sharks are found off of Southern California. So deepest respect to Dr. Klimley. There's multitudes of factors of why they do it. Is it for predation? Is it to get, the parasites out of their gills? Do they just do it for fun maybe? I don't know. So why are juveniles doing it? Is it going after prey? Are they going after bait fish and trying to swim through the bait pool? I don't know. Maybe they are trying to clear their gills. So it is interesting. I don't know, because they're not going after sea lions like most normal adult white sharks are. So it's really interesting to see that juveniles are doing it. And I don't think the paper really, I have to reread it myself, but I don't think they really touched on juvenile white sharks as much. So interesting.
I posted that footage from Malibu of the shark breaching and the. You can see Pacific Coast Highway in the city right behind it. It got over 1 million views, I think, in the first day, and it was interesting how many people don't realize that we have white sharks so close to a major metropolitan area here in California, and that they actually breach. So everybody has seen the awesome stuff, the air jaws stuff that's on Shark Week. I mean, those images they're incredible. Those are pretty cool images. In fact, the producer, Jeff Kerr, reached out to me after he saw the breaching footage from here in Malibu. And I've had a few discussions with him, but that stuff is so cool when they breach. But to see it in real life, right here in our backyard, here in Southern California, I'm telling you, just go out to the beach, keep your eyes out there, you're gonna see it.
Absolutely. I'm always, whenever I'm on the beach or on a pier or anything like that, my eyes are always scanning. You never know where you're gonna see. You never do know, so keep your eyes open. Maybe bring a pair of binoculars with. You never know. Never know what you're going to see out there.
Well, I've been sitting here on this bluff before, and I was just pointing to Phil that last time I was here, just 150 yards offshore from right here where I'm sitting, I saw a white shark breach. So it's pretty awesome. My advice is just go out there and look for sharks. You're going to see a lot more, whether it's dolphins or whales or whatever. Here in Southern California, around LA, there's a lot of life.
Yeah, no, I know, exactly, yeah. I mean, you don't even have to go out on a boat tour or anything like that. You can just see it from the shore, which is so great. You could just be sitting on the shore, on a pier, you get to a high point, you're scanning out there, and you will see great marine life. You'll see dolphins coming by, you'll see birds, dive bobbing on bait balls, and if you're really lucky, you'll see white sharks possibly breaching. So you have free, accessible opportunity to see this great nature wildlife going on around you. So I encourage it. It's good, very relaxing too. I enjoy it mentally, so I'm all for it.
Okay, so before we go, I want to tell you that we are going to be going on this adventure series here into the next year. One of the things that we want to do is we want to go search for megalodon teeth. So that's something we want to plan, right? We're going to go search for megalodon teeth. We're not going to disclose the location quite yet where we're going. But my goal is I want to find a megalodon tooth, man. I want a megalodon tooth. I don't want to buy it. I want to find it. So that's the goal, and that's something that we're going to be doing in the future. And by the way, we're going to do an episode in the future about megalodon because I have an actual expert on megalodon stuff right next to me. We're not going to get into that right now, but I'm going to tell you, if you Google Phil Stearns megalodon, you're going to see that he's got a lot of research in that space that has been, kind of a little bit controversial in the science space, but it's something we're going to dedicate a whole episode to megalodon in the future. So stay tuned for that.
Yep. Perfect. Oh yeah, happy to talk about it. Megalodon's one of my favorite sharks. Despite it being extinct, still love it. And yeah, there's a lot of debate over an extinct shark, surprisingly. I'm like, okay, so it's a fun ride.
Fun ride. All right, guys, we're gonna get going. I want to remind you that check out the merch store. I got a lot of cool merch coming in, all shark stuff. And I can't thank you enough for watching this channel, for supporting the work that we're doing here. We want to, you know, uncover some of these secrets of these mysterious creatures that are closer to us than we ever imagined they are. So thanks for watching. Please share, like, subscribe. You know the whole story on that. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, all for it.
All right, buddy.
Yep, thank you.